I was about to say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, golly gee willikers, we're back.
Honestly, roll with it. I was going to say, keep it going. Keep it going. Yeah,
today.
Wait, no, I'm like, for real. Just keep rolling with it.
Today, we're going to discuss burnout, all facets, phases, examples, stories, and share some anecdotes about how you can better improve.
Yes, yeah, we're in a little bit of a silly mood today.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going
on.
on. Is it a full moon? Something's in retrograde. I don't really know what's happening.
My coffee is in retrograde.
Yeah, Michael
that's why I'll be getting a second one.
A very large amount of caffeine
today. Yes,
and I already have a lot of energy, and that's going to help you to battle burnout.
Yes, today.
Starbucks.
Sponsor us.
But yeah, I know this has been a topic that we've brought up before. Actually,
almost like a year ago to the day.
Yes,
more or less.
But it's something that, funny enough, we're seeing a lot of our athletes kind of go through that same phase right now of just struggling with that burnout. For a lot of my athletes, the track and the swimming side of things, they are at this point in the year. You've been through a lot so far. All of the fall training. Anybody who's a runner, you go through cross country, indoors. Now you're going into outdoor season and you're still trying to compete and move forward with it. All of my swimmers have gone through their fall, winter, and some of them are kind of wrapping up their school season, and now club season is going to start picking up for the summer. So those year-round sports, and I know those are not the only two, but like I know this is kind of a time where a lot of people start seeing that.
Yeah, I don't think it's on accident that we're talking about this kind of a year to the point, because this is just the time where, yes, calendar year wise, everybody's, it's only April. We've only been in 2025 for 4 months, but, across sports, across everything, kids and, student athletes have been in school since September.
Yeah.
Right? This is the tail end for them, right? Their calendar kind of starts more in that September. So we're just finding that across the board, everybody, we're not totally on empty yet, but we're getting there, and everybody's tired, everybody's frustrated, everybody's just a little bit over it. I even was talking to a girl the other day where, I walked in and she's just got tears in her eyes, and I'm like, what is going on? She goes, I'm just so tired. I love my sport so much. I love my teammates, but I'm just over it. And that was the only emotion she had left to give. The only problem solving she had at that moment was to cry. And I was like, come here, let's cry it out. Right. But it's a tough time of year. Finals, last quarter, APs, state testing, it's
midterms,
all
state
happening.
testing.
Yeah. It's all happening.
Praying for school vacation week.
Yeah, all of my seniors are hitting that senioritis now.
Oh yeah, some of them it's been since September.
Yeah. But
your school,
kind of those last couple weeks, last couple months of school on top of whatever sport you're in. Like this is just kind of all jam-packed, piled on top of each other. People are getting to that breaking point. So,
and like you said, I mean, a lot of athletes will train in the summer, which we've talked about on a past podcast about establishing an off season, but a lot of people train in the summer. And then if you're a multi-sport athlete, if you're a one sport athlete, right, you are probably playing and competing fall, winter, and then the spring season is where things get all tough. I was talking with one of my baseball athletes.
Oh yeah.
He's already basically done with baseball season. There's still months left with school, which is crazy. He was at 25 games into his baseball season, where I had someone that was just about to do game 1.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's all over the place. It depends where you are throughout the country too, which is kind of cool in a way. But yeah, people are tired and need a nap.
And I think I've also had the conversation a lot of like teammate conflict is starting to happen a little bit too, where everybody's tired, everybody is, exhausted. And it's, when we are feeling burnt out, it is harder to manage our emotions. We feel our emotions in more extremes, especially with, my female athletes. You put that many teenage girls together when everybody's kind of at their wit's end, and it is a recipe for disaster. So, the reason I think that we wanted to bring this one up again is because we see it, it's real, it's happening. I think I've even had some say like, and I know I'm just in high school, or I know I'm just, a freshman, but everybody's feeling it just because you don't have X, Y, and Z going on that somebody else might. That burnout is real and it's personal and it's a lot. So we wanted to kind of touch on a couple of different things to pay attention to, things to look out for, and then, what do we do about it? Because we're burnt out, but we got to keep going. We still have more games. We still have more school. What do we do?
Sometime in the spring, people start to feel this burnout. It's a good way to kind of throughout the rest of the year kind of prepare yourself and be aware that, okay, I know between February and May it's going to be a little tough for me, and it's going to be I'm going to need extra things for myself. So I think a part of it too is like trying to find ways to prepare yourself for the inevitable of burnout.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
absolutely.
But kind of being aware of those warning signs and being aware of when that energy level starts to decrease for days and weeks at a time, when your motivation starts to decrease, when you start to just overall 24/7 feel tired all the time, right? Like being aware of what those signs are for people.
Yeah. And everybody's, signs and symptoms are going to be a little bit different. Like for me, my biggest sign that I am feeling burnt out is I have a really hard time navigating my emotions, where something that would not faze me in the slightest is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to send myself spiraling. So that's something that I have learned from being an athlete, being a student, going through college, of like, okay, when I start to feel like the little things are becoming the big things, that's one of my first signs where I'm like, okay, like something, we got to pay attention. I'm kind of starting to go down that path.
Yeah. I think for me, like one of my biggest signs feeling burnout is when I would find myself on my phone more, when I would put off more tasks and just the bed rot,
doom scroll,
and just find myself like, I know I have 10 things to do today, but I'm just going to turn on Netflix and look at my 3 different screens of my phone, my laptop, my TV, and not do any of it. And like that's where I would kind of start noticing that I'm just tired more. I just don't want to do anything, and I'm just doom scrolling social media.
I never burn out. I'm a machine. I run a Starbucks.
It's the caffeine, yes.
No, I think I usually notice it when I just start feeling just tired. Usually for me it's all very like physical, more for the most part. Like I feel in my old bones. Age 27. I'm the youngest one sitting here.
I was going to say, I'm turning 30 in a couple of months, so I go, let's not talk about it.
So, but I think the really big key pieces sometimes with this is, I always used to try to avoid the word burnout, because I think it just gets used just super quick every single time. Just burnt out. You could just be a little tired.
You could just have a day where you're tired. But
it could just be that this one wasn't just as this game or competition or practice just wasn't as meaningful today. Yeah. Right. It's not like it's burnout instantly. Right. I think that's a big misconception. I always try to toe the line carefully when I'm speaking to an athlete of just like, I don't want to be like, oh, you're just burnt out, dude. Like, no, you haven't built an off season, and you might be feeling burnt out for that reason. And I think to the point of the bed rot and doom scrolling, I think sometimes it's always just about, making that time like that is productive. Like you need that. Right. It might not be like just burn out, I should stop doing this.
That's where we get into the conversation of like, even if you are feeling that way, even if it's, not quote unquote clinical burnout, right? If, we have a criteria checklist and, some different symptoms that maybe we can post somewhere, because there's a lot of them and, too much maybe to go through right now. But, it's about trying to figure out, how do we keep pushing forward even when we're experiencing it, right? Even if you're not sure if you're in it, but you feel it coming, it's about what do I do now? And one of the conversations that we really have is you have to have, you might not get a lot of rest, but the rest that you are getting needs to be super, super intentional. And what that rest is going to vary so much for people.
Yeah.
Like I know my brother, like his rest is, I want to go play a pickup game of lacrosse with my friends, right? Like he was a lacrosse player. Like his idea of rest is going and playing for fun, right? And he definitely is that more social kind of person, where for me, my type of rest is, I want to be alone on my couch. And it's not, okay, I could be doing this, but I'm not going to. It's about, no, I'm not doing anything else right now. The intention is, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch this show, and I can scroll on my phone, and, that's my type of rest. Some people love, taking a shower. Some people love like the face masks, right? Whatever that type of rest looks like for you.
Video games.
Love a good face mask.
He's glowing, can't you see?
But yeah, being intentional with your rest and being prepared, knowing that it's coming up, and what your go-to things are that are going to help you get through that time. But I think it's important to also kind of note too, kind of like you said, like sometimes people misuse the word burnout or overuse it.
Yeah.
So kind of diving into some of those phases of burnout and like what the actual pieces or elements are like to it. I know that's kind of.
Yes, just like I did a year ago. Enter chart.
Right here, ABC.
1, 2, 3, ABC. No, one of the big pieces, and the piece that we're mostly talking about right now, is just exhaustion in whatever form: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Right? Exhaustion is that first big one.
Yeah.
Right. And usually the thing with burnout is you're always most times experiencing some phase of it. We can be exhausted right after a practice. We're physically tired, but we just had a great practice. We liked it. We loved being at practice. We loved getting out of school to go to practice or leave early for a competition, right? Even though that might be a drag that we have to go on a far bus ride, right? But usually, sometimes I like to think always experiencing some form of it. It just, is it wearing on you for a long time? So phase 1 or step 1 or part 1 or part something of it is some form of exhaustion. Then we go into,
which we're not feeling right now.
devalue. I'm not exhausted. I'm ready to go. Run through a wall, right? Then we have devaluation, right? Where you're just, it's just not the top of the priority list, right? It's not at the top of the to-do list. It's somewhere near the bottom, or it is on the to-do list, and it's just not there. You don't care.
Yeah.
So you have exhaustion, we have devaluation, and then now to complete the triangle of burnout, now I'm making it a triangle now.
It's not an A, B, and C.
The chain of screaming. If you get that reference, write the show in the comments. But I'm trying to make him interrupting the lead right here. No. Then we also have reduced accomplishment. Yes. And it's where the success, the reward, that part of the motivation type piece just kind of fades away. And usually when you experience the circle of burnout over a long period.
In case anybody wanted to know what it's like in our office, this is a very accurate representation.
We have a great time.
We do.
So with the triangle of circle chain of burnout, right? When you experience devaluation, reduced accomplishment, and exhaustion for long periods of time, it wears on you. Hopefully someone in your support network will notice and try to, ask and see, like us, we'll ask, how everything's going and try to piece that together, maybe with you or for you. And then usually it leads to, one of also kind of 3 options. One, you kind of continue on and stay and do your sport and push through and try to find that toughness, resilience.
Passion.
Could be tough.
Yeah.
Rediscover the motivation a little. You go into sport dropout where you don't do any more sports. No more sports.
Right.
Gone. Off the plate. Or you go into sport transfer where you can kind of pick a different sport. And I think one of my kind of favorite examples, and then I'll kind of go back to you guys because I feel like I've been talking for a long time, is Ashley Barty, the former Grand Slam champion, #1 tennis player in the world. She's gone back and forth with tennis a couple of times. She was 19, she got burnt out, came back, won majors, and then, stopped to accomplish what she wanted to because she got burned out the first time, accomplished what she wanted to, retired at 25, and transferred and started to play professional cricket instead, like one does in Australia. Yeah. So, right, that's a kind of a cool kind of current example of kind of that sport transfer. Yeah. And then you have sometimes, an athlete, another tennis example, of course, as a tennis player and coach, but Simona Halep, she dropped out, right? A lot of other reasons why she dropped out of the sport with the suspensions and stuff, but it was the burnout was there. She was trying to come back, but it's just that time piece a little bit sometimes it's going to be tough. So drop out, transfer, or, you kind of maybe stick with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so obviously sticking with it is one of the harder pieces too. If you're in the middle of your season and it's like you feel like your no other option is to stick with it, right? Like that kind of leaves you stuck. But sport transfer, I think that is super helpful for those athletes who are multiple sport athletes who have a fall sport, a winter sport, a spring sport. It keeps your body moving. It keeps you active. And it also does a lot to kind of prevent that burnout by just kind of hopping around, having different goals, different teammates, different settings to kind of go throughout the year. But I know as a runner, it's year round.
Yeah.
You got cross country, indoor and outdoor, and you get
And summer training.
yeah, and you get 2 weeks off out of the whole year to and there's not like a difference in training throughout the year. So it's a lot harder that way. And I think for some of my track athletes right now who are experiencing a little bit of that burnout, and they might be in the middle of their outdoor season or coming towards the end, I'm really kind of emphasizing that 2-week break. If you want to make it 3 weeks, if you want to make it 4 weeks, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, take that rest. Really emphasize that rest that you get throughout the whole year.
Yeah. And, you know, in the world of gymnastics, I was just actually meeting with a group of coaches the other day where, you know, it's the same thing. It's a full calendar year, right? There's upgrade season versus competition season, but we're kind of in the tail end of competition season. So everybody's had states, right? States is great. Everybody works for it. But now we've got regionals.
Yeah.
Right. And then after regionals, if you're high enough level, you have nationals potentially. And it is, you know, it's hard. And, you know, it's really great for those athletes that qualify and, you know, keep going, but they're still drilling routines where some of their teammates are kind of out of meet season and they're already working upgrades. Right. And it's very, very challenging. And I'm seeing a lot of athletes being like, if I have to listen to my floor music one more time, I'm gonna lose it. Right. And so, you know, I was kind of talking to these coaches about saying, you know, I understand these athletes have regionals and a lot of them are very likely going to qualify for nationals. We need them to keep drilling routines. We need them to get their reps in. But, you know, a practice where they're not doing routines and they're training upgrades or even a week.
Right.
It's, you know,
or something different.
Right. Let them do something different, right? Do a different type of warm up, do a different type of conditioning, right? Those are all things we still need them to do. Right. Even though we know they're burnt out, we still need them to do what we need them to do, but there's a way to format it. There's a way to change it up enough that we can keep some of that motivation. We can keep some of that excitement. We can just kind of hit, you know, the erase button. Even if we don't totally wipe the slate clean, you know, we can get a little bit of it kind of under control to keep going until we can have that full reset.
Yeah. And I think what's isn't mentioned a lot either, kind of like during that training period for athletes who they get states and then they qualify for the next level and they qualify for the next level and all the way up. Your training group gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're no longer training with everybody on your team. You're like if you're the only one who's going through those steps, that isolation can lead to a lot of burnout too, of like, I'm the only one training at this intensity for another 2 weeks to compete again when everybody else is either done or they're in their off season or they're just training for a different thing.
things. Yeah.
So like that isolation piece can be a factor too for people. So but I know you said that you've been working with a team and you guys kind of had a
fun way to battle burnout.
Yeah, we had a fun activity. And this, I think, you know, when we were talking with them, they had just come off a really, really tough 3-day tournament. It's a volleyball team in our area. And, you know, they were just like, everybody, you could see it in their eyes, even the week before, where we were like, oh, we as coaches, we as mental performance coaches, are recognizing some of these phases. Is it a circle? Is it a triangle?
It's whatever shape you want it to be.
Speaks to you. I don't remember where in that shape we were, but you know, we as the coaches kind of said, okay, you know, we're recognizing this. A lot of the athletes were vocalizing it, or some of them, you know, their body language was telling us, their engagement, you know, in our sessions were telling us, okay, we're kind of hitting that point. We want to be a little proactive about this. So, you know, one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given was, you know, everybody's like, you know, you can't feel sorry for yourself. You can't feel sorry for yourself. And one of the best pieces of advice that my mom ever gave me was, sometimes you can feel sorry for yourself. Sometimes you need to throw yourself a pity party. Mm-hmm. But we need to do it in a very specific way.
Right.
So, you know, I think, you know, some of the ways to do it is to actually have a party, right? Yeah. So, you know, what we had them do was we explained to them the 7 types of rest, right? There's tons of different ways to rest: physical rest, sensory rest, spiritual rest, creative rest. I wish I could come up
Probably
with
like mental, emotional.
Yep. All of that. Again, we will post it. I don't know why my mind is just thinking on it right now. But we introduced that and said, okay, we have to have that intentional rest, right? Whether it's true burnout, but you are all using the term of burnout, we need to incorporate this rest. And how we wanted them to do it was, we said, we're going to do a little party planning right now. So what we had them do is we gave them markers, we gave them construction paper, we gave them blank pieces of paper, and we said, we want you to design what your party would look like. If you were going to have an actual party to, celebrate your burnout, what would it look? Right? Some of them kind of did like a spatial planning. Where would I put my tables? Where would the TV be? Some put together their invitation, right? So what's the theme? What kind of snacks are going to be there? There was lots of matching pajama sets were going to be involved in it, right? But one of the other things, it's what are 3 activities that are going to touch on 3 different types of rest, right? And it was, I'm going to design a day, right? Kind of like a rock day, but we were calling it their pity party, right? What's the party, right? And one of the handouts that we have is, and then eventually, like, you want to be a good host. So you want to host all these things. You want to plan all these things. But at some point, you're not going to be a great host, right? And eventually, you're going to kick everybody out, right?
Because you need to.
Right, because the pity party has to end at some point, right? And you're going to, blow out the candle on your party, right? You're going to have it and whatever. So we kind of showed up with like a bag of candy, and they're like, what's that for? What's that for? And, we're talking about designing these pity parties, and I'm like, and no party is complete without some candy.
Yes.
Right. So, it was one of those things where it was a lighthearted activity. There was so many funny themes. Like, there's some of like a come as you are, like some of it was a pajama party. One of it was like a funeral. Like, they had all these fun things, but they didn't even, in that moment, we gave them some candy because they still had to go to practice, but we didn't even actually have the party. It was just the idea of knowing that they could. You could see them walking away being like, okay, I feel validated in my burnout, even if it's not technically the correct term, or I don't know exactly what phase of the shape I'm on in all of this, but it just was such a great way for them to acknowledge, this is how I'm feeling, and it sucks, and I'm gonna feel it kind of suck for a little bit, and then I'll regroup and I'll figure out how to kind of keep going.
Right. And that's great to like tie in like some of the tips to managing burnout is social support. So being able to have that activity with your team, being able to actually throw a pity party with your friends, like instead of having another person in your life tell you just suck it up and get through it, like you can actually have that space feel validated in how you're feeling and have that support from those closest to you.
Yeah, it was fun. So, and they were like, do we actually get to throw the party? And I'm like, if there was I was going to say, please do, right? Like, please do. But it just, it was a silly activity, but sometimes those are the ones that are most impactful. And, even from the coach's perspective, it was really cool to watch them do that. Like, it was cool how invested in it they were and how much they understood kind of the message that we were trying to kind of portray to them. It was a cool experience.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
I would say that's a really big thing as like a former like player, captain, and coach is, you can verbalize these things sometimes. But like as a former captain, I was like, coach, like I think we just need to can we just like play capture the flag? Can we just like do some dodgeball? Like can we mix it up? And as a coach, I'd make sure that we would have like fun Fridays where you listen to music and have food, like just mixing up these things, because it can get so monotonous sometimes out there. And so just like, just you're in that daily grind and you need to have the space to have fun and kind of see the smiles, have fun, enjoy it, because at the end of the day, we kind of forget to do that as coaches and captains and players and, whatever else you may need, right?
The goals and like, we got to keep working. We got
to win. We got to keep working. And part of winning and doing all this stuff and success and losing and failures all is taking breaks, but having fun and enjoying it, because that's at the end of the day what I think, my biggest thing with burnout is remembering what the motivation is. And for me, it's always to have fun and enjoy it. And that's why I chug Starbucks and come in here in my goofy, silly moods at times.
But yeah, the kind of circling back and finding your reason why and why you're here, and just bringing that fun aspect into it can make a world's difference for so many athletes. And for those athletes who are feeling like they are kind of stuck in it and you still have your season to go, it's like, yeah, throw yourself a pity party, or have a different warm-up, have a fun practice, have something different, something entertaining, something silly to kind of change the mood for where you're at.
Yeah. And, talk to your coaches about it. If they're not, they're probably more willing to do it in practice than you think, even if it's on, it's meet week, we can't do whatever. Okay. Everybody show up wearing the mismatched, leotard and shorts option that day, right? Find something that makes it
Hawaiian shirt day.
Right. I was going to say, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. And that's also some responsibility of the athlete to be like, okay, we can do this fun thing and stay focused on what we need to get done. Mm-hmm. But it's little things when it comes to managing burnout, when it comes to delaying or, just getting through it. It's the little things. It's the little habits. It's the little behaviors.
And preparing for it. Because we all know around this time,
we'll probably be doing this episode again next year, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. 1 year from
mark it on the
today. Mark it down.
Yeah. But so for all those coaches out there, or for all those teachers, people who, people get burned out in school too. Prepare yourself for a couple of those activities that you can start incorporating into the season or into the classroom to help students kind of work through and this phase of burnout. So
but I think remembering that it's going to happen.
Yep.
It doesn't, mean it has to be the end of the world. It just takes a little, preparation, a little planning, and a little follow through on everybody's end to make sure that it's something that is worked through and managed so that it doesn't become a bigger prolonged period of time than it needs to be.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts?
No.
Michael needs to go run a lap around the building right now.
Want to see me do it again.
And half of you don't even know that reference.
Yeah. But we'll see you next year with the same topic.
Right? Come back same time next year.
All right.
Bye.
Battling burnout.
If you like what you're listening to, be sure to follow the Athlete Cafe on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find us wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.